All this Red Sea drama is bad for the global economy. There's talk of slowdown in 2024, maybe even a recession. But amid this gloom, there is a bright spot, and that's India. And we are not the ones saying this. The IMF is, the International Monetary Fund. They've released the annual assessment of India's economic performance, sort of like a report card. And three things stand out here, three big headlines. Number one, the IMF has called India a star performer, one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Number two, India's GDP will grow by 6.3%. That's the current financial year. 6.3% growth. And number three, India will make up 16% of global economic growth. Together with China, it will be the engine of the world economy. How did that happen? How did India avoid the global slowdown? Well, the IMF has mentioned a few reasons, like the digitization push, the large population, and also the strong government infrastructure program. And that last one is very important. India has set aside a lot of money for this, around $120 billion. It will be used to expand India's infrastructure. We're talking about roads, railways, hospitals. In fact, infrastructure spending is set to double. Between 2017 and 2023, it was around 70 lakh crore rupees. But in the next 5 years, it will reach 143 lakh crores. That's how many projects are lined up. So India is splurging on infra, and that is driving growth. What about other indicators like inflation, employment, and deficit? The IMF says all good. In July, India's inflation was at 7.4%. It was hurting most households. But by September, it was down to 5%. In October, it came down to 4.8%. So the IMF says inflation is largely under control. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And one reason for that is geopolitics. Unlike Western countries, India did not abandon Russian oil. New Delhi kept buying at a discount. Even the IMF is now talking about it. They've called it proactive diversification of critical oil imports. Whatever floats their boat. I know all this sounds perfect. So where are the challenges? The IMF has listed three major challenges. First, global headwinds. Most experts say the world will slow down in 2024, and it doesn't matter who you are or where you are. When the world slows, you slow. There'll be lesser demand for exports. Investments will reduce, and so will consumer spending. The second challenge is India's massive population. Yes, it's an advantage on paper, but you need to invest in this population. Only a healthy and educated population can help you. So the IMF has suggestions, like encouraging more women to work, reforming the labor market, and investing in health. If India does these things, growth will increase even more. And finally, the third challenge, weather shocks. When you have 1.4 billion people, food becomes a top priority. And for food, you need agriculture. And for agriculture, you need predictable weather, not shocks. And that's a clear worry. Just look at India's sugar output. It's projected to fall by 12% this year and by more than 8% next year. Fall. Why is that? Because the rains have not been enough. If these numbers hold, India may have to import sugar in 2024. The last time we did that was in 2017, around 7 years ago. Plus, India supplies around 12% of the global sugar trade. So if India bans exports, prices will rise. Not just here, but all over the world. And it won't be limited to sugar. It is not limited to sugar. India has already banned wheat and rice exports. It's an issue that will persist next year as well. But by and large, things are looking good. The IMF is pretty happy with India's report card. They did have one complaint, though, on exchange control, basically how India manages its currency. The IMF says the Reserve Bank of India is getting too involved. How? By selling dollars in the market, by propping up the rupee. But the RBI says that is not the case. It has accused the IMF of cherry-picking data. The IMF, though, seems to have made up its mind. It has reclassified India's exchange regime. It was floating until October, but now it has been changed to stabilized arrangement. I guess no report card is perfect.